My sister cut me off after I funded the family for years. So I revealed. I arrived with a bottle of Merlot, one of the good ones from my collection, wrapped with a ribbon like a fool, as if this year might be different. The porch light at Lauren's house blinked once as I pressed the doorbell. The scent of cedar and nutmeg greeted me as the door swung open, and Mom's voice echoed through the hall, announcing my arrival with forced warmth. Inside, the house was a postcard of holiday cheer, soft lights, a glowing fireplace, the works. Little Nora was by the tree, rattling a gift with her name on it. Dad stayed glued to his armchair, unmoving. Sarah grinned like we were being filmed. "You're here early," she said. "Must be nice, no kids, no real burdens." I gave a tight smile, set the wine on the table, and said, "Better early than theatrical," aiming for light but landing flat. The dining table was already set, sliced turkey, glazed carrots, napkins folded just so. Lauren always had a knack for staging a flawless catastrophe. I took my seat near the table's end. Conversation hummed like a faulty wire, tense and uneven with half-hearted laughs. No one asked about my life, my recent raise, nothing. They were clearly waiting for something. Then it came. Sarah stood, glass in hand, her lipstick bold, the kind she wore when she wanted control. "Before dessert," she said, "let's get real." My stomach churned before she even finished. She scanned the table like a judge delivering a verdict. "We've talked, and we've agreed you're no longer part of this family." I froze, thinking it was a cruel joke, but Mom nodded, slicing her bread. "It was inevitable," she said. Ethan stared at his plate, silent. Nora giggled, thinking it was a prank. Dad didn't look up, just shifted and mumbled, "This tension's no good for anyone." Their words didn't cut like blades. They were colder, like being locked out in a blizzard with no shelter. I stayed silent, breathing carefully. Then I reached into my bag and pulled out a thick envelope. Their chatter died. The sound of it hitting the table was heavy, like a gavel. "What's that?" Sarah asked, her smirk faltering. I leaned back. "Since we're being honest, I came ready." She snatched it, expecting something trivial. Her face fell as she flipped through. Bank records, receipts, text logs, a chronicle of every plea they'd made. Then she reached page 23. A hotel receipt from Savannah, 2 nights, 1 room, her name alongside another's, Clara. She shoved it away like it was toxic. "You're unhinged," she spat, "spying on us." "I documented," I said. "There's a difference." Ethan grabbed the envelope, scanning it, his lips moving soundlessly. Mom snapped, "How dare you turn your support into a weapon?" I met her gaze, icy now. "You called it support. I was your bank, your counselor, your punching bag." I stood, legs unsteady but firm. "You say I'm not family. Then you don't need your safety net." No one spoke. Sarah's glass trembled. Nora asked if the game was over. I grabbed my coat and walked out, no tears, no pleas, just me and the storm. Thunder growled as I stepped outside, the air colder than I'd braced for. The door didn't slam, it closed softly like the house was too exhausted to fight. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Let them stew in the void they created. Their voices leaked through the walls as I walked away. "Think you're above us?" Lauren's voice, sharp and unsteady. The envelope hit something inside, papers scattering like dry leaves. "You're a leech, Mara," she yelled, then quiet. Then Ethan. "Who's Clara?" That stopped me. I glanced back just enough to see him by the window, holding the envelope, his eyes searching. "Not here," Lauren hissed, her voice cracking. "Who is Clara?" Ethan's tone was low, deliberate, like a blade wrapped in silk. Mom stood abruptly. "This isn't the moment." "Like hell it isn't," Ethan shot back. "You wanted truth, let's have it." I leaned against the mailbox, listening as Lauren's perfect evening unraveled. "She's just a colleague," Sarah muttered. Ethan read aloud, 3 nights oceanfront suite, Savannah under your joint account, Sarah Bennett and Clara Holt. "A colleague?" "She was helping with work," Sarah stammered. "Stop lying," Ethan said, his voice breaking just enough to betray his pain. I didn't need to see more. I knew that sound. A marriage fracturing in real time, no drama, just the quiet snap of trust breaking. I pulled out my phone, hands steady despite the cold. A voicemail waited, unknown number. "Miss Bennett, this is Liam from Carter and Wells. Your father asked me to call about the family trust. He mentioned revoked authorizations and fallback options." I hung up. Another call came through. "Miss Bennett," Liam again, "your father insists you're still listed on several clauses as power of attorney." "Not anymore," I said. "It's done." "Well," he continued, "unless you update Clause 14B separately, some assets still route through you. He wants a meeting." I laughed, a short, bitter sound. "Tell him I'm out, and even if I wasn't, I wouldn't help." "Shall we notify him in writing?" "No," I said. "Let him figure it out." I ended the call and stared at the empty street. A neighbor's plastic reindeer glowed, its nose flashing like a taunt. The house behind me had gone quiet, not calm, just stunned. I took one last look and walked away, not for air, but because staying meant facing their wreckage, and I'd already swallowed enough of their ashes. My hands steadied, my breath evened, and I knew they hadn't broken me. They'd just proven me right. I got in my car and drove, not toward anything, just away. I didn't go home. Instead, I let the road pull me past festive neighborhoods, down familiar streets where the cracks hadn't changed. My tires crunched onto the gravel by the lake, Dad's old retreat from when I was too young to know what calm really meant. The water was still under the moonlight, smooth as a mirror. I killed the engine and let the quiet wrap around me. I used to come here for answers, before work deadlines and bank alerts, before they learned I was reliable and punished me for it. I leaned back, the cold seeping through the window I didn't close. My mind circled back not to Christmas, but to every time I said yes. Dad's 6 a.m. call. Just a small loan, sweetheart, the surgery wasn't covered. He said it like I'd volunteered. Mom's credit card bill for things I never bought. Just this once, she'd whispered like we were conspirators. Lauren's crisis therapy was a wellness retreat in Oregon. I sent the money thinking she was desperate. Then Nora's school fees. The grant fell through, Jenna said. No one offered to repay, no one asked if I could spare it. Their thanks were empty, laced with guilt and demands. Only you can fix this. You're the capable one. It always ended with my account drained, my chest tight, my silence taken as agreement. At Nora's birthday, I gave her a book I'd cherished as a kid. Sarah glanced at it and said, "Guess we all give what we can." They called me the family's foundation, but I didn't realize they meant the one bearing the load until I couldn't stand straight. I blinked, back in the car, gripping the wheel. My phone glowed, a memory from 3 years ago, a photo of Dad in a hospital bed looking frail. Mom's caption, "At the ER, don't know how long he has." I'd flown home, canceled meetings, raced to the hospital in heels, expecting chaos. Instead, he was watching baseball, grumbling about the food. "Just being careful," Mom said, shrugging. I sat in the waiting room later, staring at a vending machine, realizing my crisis was never theirs. I was the fixer, not the daughter. I stepped out of the car, the wind biting my face by the lake. I didn't care. For the first time, I wasn't angry or sad, just finished. "They never needed me," I whispered. "They needed what I could give." 3 days passed, heavy and slow. I stayed in my apartment, only leaving to walk the dog and fake normalcy. Asheville's cold was brutal, splitting skin and sinking into bones. The lake hadn't solved anything, but it hadn't demanded anything either. Then Jenna texted, "Can we talk? Just us, no strings." I stared too long, torn between deleting it and asking what she wanted. Curiosity won. I picked a quiet cafe downtown, public enough to avoid drama. She was there when I arrived, wrapped in a beige coat, clutching a cold cappuccino. "Thanks for coming," she said, her voice softer than I remembered. I sat, keeping my scarf on. "Let's make this quick." She gave a tight smile. "Christmas wasn't what it seemed." I raised an eyebrow. "Did someone fake your voice saying I'm not family?" She winced. "It was heated. Lauren pushed and you agreed." I cut in. She didn't argue. Instead, she pulled out a manila folder. My stomach twisted. "What's that?" I asked, voice sharp. "Legal stuff," she said, sliding it over. "Power of attorney papers. Dad wants you back on them." I didn't touch it. "This is your no strings?" "Mara, we're exhausted," she whispered. "You always know how to handle this stuff." I leaned in. "You don't get to disown me and then pull me back when it suits you." She looked away. "It's not like that." I pushed the folder back. "It's exactly like that. You cheered when Lauren cut me out and now you're here because Dad's scared of losing the trust." She said nothing. "I'm not your shield anymore," I said, standing. I left her with the folder and her cold coffee. That night, sleep wouldn't come. My phone buzzed, "Ethan." "I owe you an apology. I saw what Lauren was doing for years and stayed quiet, thinking it was neutral. It wasn't." "It hurt you?" Another message. "You weren't wrong, you were alone." I stared, stunned. Ethan, the silent observer, had finally spoken. My fingers hovered over a reply, "Thanks," then stopped. I locked my phone, mind spinning. The quiet felt louder after his words. Then at dawn, another message, "Sarah, you've crossed a line. If something happens to Mom or Dad, it's on you." I waited for more, but nothing came. Just a threat disguised as worry, sharp enough to draw blood if I let it. I didn't respond. In the kitchen, I poured coffee into a mug that cracked under the heat. They didn't want peace. They wanted me back in line, the version who paid and stayed quiet. But that version was gone. By morning, I drafted a message to the family chat, scrapped it 5 times, then hit record. "I'm not your enemy," I said, voice steady. "I'm your consequence. I carried your burdens, your insults, your debts, thinking it kept us together. But you weren't struggling, you were draining me. I'm done being your scapegoat. If you push me, lie about me, or threaten me, I'll share everything, every receipt, every call, every page in that envelope. I'm not bluffing. I sent it, no theatrics, just truth. The silence that followed was deafening. 2 hours later, Corrine messaged, I didn't realize it was that bad. Then, I'm sorry for cheering. I thought it was a performance, not real. Lauren said I'd be betraying them if I didn't agree, and Mom said you'd already left us. Another, if you need me to speak up, I will. I read it 3 times. It wasn't full remorse, but it was the closest I'd gotten. I didn't reply, not ready to trust. That night, alone at my table, the thermostat ticking, my hands shook, not from fear, but from the release of finally being heard. I whispered, maybe I was never the quiet one, maybe they just didn't listen. The next morning, the silence felt lighter. I moved on instinct, packing up my old life. I'd signed a new lease days after the fallout, cut every tie, accounts, contacts, trust clauses they thought I'd missed. I was thorough. In the kitchen, I found an old sweater from Mom, red with silver snowflakes, a tag reading, Forever Yours. That same Christmas, she'd called me selfish for not co-signing a loan for Ryan. I donated it to a shelter. My phone buzzed. I opened the family chat one last time. My number's the same, but you'll never reach who I was. I blocked them all. The silence felt like freedom. 3 days later, messages came from new numbers. A photo from Jenna, their living room, the tree unchanged, but no gifts underneath. It's not the same without you. Nora cried all night. Then Ryan, we're behind on the house. You don't care anymore, do you? Then Jackson, we all said things we regret, but you went too far. Why hurt your own family? No apologies, just accusations. I stood at my new window, city lights fading into fog, letting the messages stack up. I poured wine into a plain glass and stepped onto the balcony. The cold felt right. No music, no pings, no guilt asking if I'd gone too far. They didn't want me whole, they wanted me compliant. I understood the difference now. Days later, the cold grew familiar, almost comforting. I lingered on the balcony, watching lights flicker across the street. A dog barked, then quiet. I liked that silence, no demands. Then a message from Claire, a college friend I hadn't seen in a decade. Are you okay? Lauren said you're struggling. More followed from old coworkers, high school acquaintances, all with the same tone. She said you're isolating, I'm here if you need me. It wasn't concern, it was a smear. Then a Facebook post by Harper, a former colleague. We need to discuss mental health when people cut off family and play victim while causing pain. It didn't name me, but comments did, with a screenshot of my old text to Jenna. I can't keep doing this, it's draining. They spun draining into unstable. Whispers followed, she used to be kind. Who abandons family at Christmas? Aunt Leela, pray for her. I didn't cry or rage. I started a response, then stopped. They didn't want truth, they wanted control. I called my lawyer. By evening, Lauren got a cease and desist with logs and a warning. Any more defamation meant consequences. No more games. That night I whispered, you're not winning, you're drowning. The silence agreed. 2 days later, a knock, 3 sharp raps. I checked the peephole, Corrine, duffel bag in hand, eyes red, face worn. I'm sorry for just showing up, she said. I let her in without a word. She stood in my living room, heavy-limbed. I can't stay with them, she whispered. It's toxic, all of it. I nodded, locking the door. We sat on the couch, like strangers relearning trust. I should have spoken sooner, she said. After I texted you, Lauren cornered me, said I'd be cut off if I reached out again, called me a traitor. Mom said loyalty meant staying quiet. She paused, eyes wet. I didn't see how bad it was, the control, the fear. You don't until you're the target, I said. She handed me a printed email thread, vicious messages from Lauren and Jenna. You were right, she said. I'm done pretending. Her words hit like air after holding my breath. Later, Lauren messaged, you turned her against us like you ruined everything. I replied, you did that yourself, and blocked her everywhere. I signed an affidavit for Ethan's divorce, sent it to his lawyer. Done. That night, Corrine and I sat on the balcony, the January chill sharp. I gave her a blanket. She tucked it around herself, silent. The quiet wasn't avoidance, it was peace. You're safe here, I said. Really? She nodded, and I realized I was safe too. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived, no return address, just my name and Mom's familiar scrawl. I almost tossed it, but something said, read it for me. I opened it after an hour, unfolding 3 pages. We miss you daily, it began. No apology, just guilt. Your father's health is declining, his lungs are worse. Nora asks for you, she drew you something. Then the ask, we might lose the house. The mortgage is overdue, just a little help, Myra, we won't ask again. Won't ask again was underlined. I read it twice, then took it to the balcony, placed it in an old plant pot, and lit a match. The pages curled, ink melting into flame. I didn't cry or yell. I watched the smoke drift and said, "I'm not angry. I'm done." It was like dropping a key into a stream. Later, I found an old emergency contact form, scratched out their names, and wrote mine. Me, finally. Days later, Corrine asked me to walk Nora to school. She had work, didn't trust a sitter. I agreed, not out of duty, but choice. Nora held my hand, skipping every few steps. At the gate, she looked up. "Will you come to my birthday?" I crouched down. "If you invite me." She nodded and ran off. I watched her blend into the crowd, the clouds parting, sunlight spilling through. The end didn't feel like a fall, it felt like an opening. Maybe you've been the one holding it together, staying quiet to keep peace, until you see the silence was breaking you. I thought love meant sacrifice, carrying every burden without complaint. But strength isn't about enduring blows. It's about knowing when to walk away. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more real-life stories, get more experiences.